Hello, Up Radio listeners. This is Brant coming at you once again from KACT 105.5. Great show today. I'm excited. You know, we've been covering some great artists and musicians. Now we have an actor of a movie that's going to be premiering in theaters this Friday. It is a movie called Union Bound. We've got a great actor on the phone right now. He's an actor. He's a currency trader and entrepreneur. His career highlights include Breaking Bad, Three Kings, CSI Miami, Rules of Engagement, none other, and of course other commercials. And I can't wait for you to meet this guy. None other than Tank Jones. How you doing, Tank?
I'm fantastic, Brent. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Very excited to hear about this movie starting Friday called Union Bound. And so, Tank, of course, you're in this movie. Tell us about Union Bound.
Well, Union Bound is based on a true story. It's a Civil War piece based on the diaries of one Joseph Hoover. And Joseph Hoover, he was an actual soldier in the Union Army. He got captured by the Confederacy in what was known as the Battle of the Wilderness, shipped down to Andersonville Prison, where they shipped him up north to the Carolinas, and he escaped. And he was stumbling upon plantation to plantation, and he stumbled upon one where my character happened to be, a man by the name of Jim Young. And it's a mind trip because here you have, if you picture the setting, again, a white soldier coming down to the South trying to enlist the help of black slaves for him to get back up north and get free. That's crazy, but it's based on a true story. So they always say facts are stranger than fiction. Well, here you go. This is one of them.
Man, you know what, Tank? I'm very excited about movies like this for a lot of reasons. I grew up in the mix. And so, if you know, for people who haven't grown up in the mix, and what I mean by the mix is, you know, a mixed racial setting. You know, my friends were the Chicanos, the brothers, you name it, man. We had a great time, and you know, it's always funny too because no matter where I go, what state I go to, you know what venue I'm at. When I meet one of my brothers, they know, and we know, and you know, again, I wish more people could experience what it's like to not tolerate diversity, but to celebrate it. You know? Yeah,
I was getting ready to say, man.
And you know, you've done really well, and we're going to get to the movie. But you know, Tank, I'm interested in you and our listeners and Up Radio. You know, hearing about you because here you are. You know, you're involved in a revolutionary movie during a time in our nation where you know there's some issues with racism and such, but when you come across movies like this, it's educational and it's good for people to know that, you know what, there's people out there that look at each other like human beings, and we celebrate each other. We don't put up with this crazy. Yeah,
that's a novel concept, right? To look at somebody else as another human and as another individual. I mean, you hit it, if you will, right on the head, man. I mean, we're talking about an event that happened 150 years ago, but it only happened 150 years ago. People, it's always interesting. I guess it goes back to that glass half empty, glass half full argument. So here you have civilization in and of itself is thousands of years old. And then this nation here is only a couple hundred years old. And we have an event that happened 150 years ago that shaped the course of this nation. And people, we ever since the microwave, if you will, we've been known as the microwave society, and we want it now. And now with the speed of the internet, we want it before we even know we want it. So it's one of those interesting things where people, we don't need to know about that anymore, but realize it's only 3-4 generations ago. And we're living those remnants now. So, yeah, you hit it right there, man. There's always something to learn from this period. And because it shapes so much and we're living so much, we're living in, if you will, almost the renaissance of what that created for us. So if you picture this, again, blacks at this time in the Civil War are considered property. They aren't even considered people. And if they escape, they're considered contraband, which is a term that is even more degrading for a person. And if they do anything during that time that they're not supposed to, and a lot of them aren't even being educated. They risk being killed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And my character Jim had such a decision in this film.
Wow.
To be able to make a decision just based on the humanity of the situation instead of, oh my goodness, well, he's not like me. He is like you. He's human. And we have all different cultural differences. And I love what you said. Yeah, my brothers, you said you hung out with the Chicanos and the brothers and everybody else, man. They call me a black Anisican. I'm a black man who can speak Mandarin Chinese, and I promote Latin Hispanic events. So they call me a black Anisican. So I know what you're talking about, man. And it is. You should celebrate the diversity of who we are. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get on the soapbox, but just one last piece.
No. Keep going.
Well, I love the time in which we live in right now. I love being a part of this country. I love the fact that we have a First Amendment that allows people to say they have the right and the freedom to say what they want to say, whether you agree with it or not. They have the right in this country as long as it doesn't infringe or hurt someone else, but not hurt your feelings. That's not what that means, okay?
Right.
People's feelings are meant to be, you're going to get your feelings hurt because you'll never get 100% consensus on anything. Having said that, it's the one thing that really is hurtful is so many people feel free to spread so much hatred and venom. And we live in a culture that is now more about the like and how many likes I can get and how many shares I can get instead of the humane part, basically looking at another person and just engaging in conversation. Even if you don't think like I think, I'm going to unfriend you on Facebook. What is that about?
Right.
I mean, can we agree to disagree anymore, or can't we at least have civil discourse among one another to at least find out what the other person's viewpoint is, and you can still agree to disagree, or walk away and maybe we come back and we revisit again. But it doesn't mean you cut everybody off and you hate another group of people just because they have a different opinion than you or they look different than you. How silly and how asinine is that?
Well, you know, Tank, you work with all different kinds of people in the movie industry. Well, you know what? I'm happy to hear that you love this country, Tank. I am. You know, my story is very interesting, and we won't go all into that. But I've spent a lot of time in the inner city. I've spent a lot of time with people of different backgrounds. I've invested in the lives of young people my whole life. People who, you know, were not always celebrated for the color of their skin, and yet I celebrate them because you know one of my biggest influences is Les Brown. You know who Les Brown is?
Yeah, absolutely know who Les is. Great influencer. Written some great books. Is a great orator as well. That's a good one.
Well, he ignited my life many, many years ago, and the fact that he was abandoned in a concrete floor in an abandoned house with his brother and told he was retarded, and went on to just, you know, be just one of the ultimate success stories. He personally had a big impact in my life, and you know, when I see people of every background that love America, you know, this show is pro-America. You know, it's and we love our country. We love the First Amendment. We love the Second Amendment. You know, you're talking to a West Texas crowd, by golly, and you know when it comes to Texas, you know, I'm not from Texas, but I love Texas, and I've done well in Texas, and I love the attitude of Texans. You know, and it's so funny. You know, when they travel abroad over the world, they don't say I'm from America. They say I'm from Texas. Yeah, you know, they're like, this ain't American, this is American, you know. And so anyway, Tank, but you know what, I celebrate you. I was excited looking up information about you, and man, you got started really, really early. I mean, even at the age of 2 with the Sesame Street commercial, man. And yeah, I almost want to ask, you know, did Morgan Freeman? Did you see Morgan yet or not? But tell us about your journey, because we want to know about Tank. You were like 2 years old when you were doing your first commercial, I believe, with the Sesame Street people. What was that like, man?
Yeah, man. I was 2, so I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember. Here's the funniest thing how that all came about and what it led to from there, because that sparked what this is today. So I had an agent, man, when I was a baby, Getty's Agency in Chicago, and I'm from a small farm town in Chicago. People ask me, how did you get the name Tank? I said, well, when I was 1 year old, I used to like to run into inanimate objects, like walls and my grandma's deep freezer, and I'd hit it, and then I'd hop back up, and I'd be smiling, and they would be looking at me, and my uncle nicknamed me Lil Tankhead. And as I got older, it just shrank to Tank. So that's where the name Tank comes from. But I've been known as Tank for my whole life. And when I was 2, man, I did the commercial. But what ended up happening is my mom, she got a severe bout of scoliosis, and she was bedridden for almost a year. And even though I had an agent, I lived 50 miles away from Chicago in a farm town, and nobody wanted to take me to my audition. So just like that, career over. But as I got older, I'm doing the plays, I'm doing the church plays, I'm doing school plays. We did King Midas. I was King Midas. We did A Christmas Carol. I was Ebenezer Scrooge. I mean, it was just something that I always enjoyed doing. So as I got older, I was sitting in class, in English class, and I'll never forget this. A girl, her name was Becky Alwyn. I didn't wear jeans when I was in high school. It was just my choice. It was like everybody else wore jeans. I wanted to be different, so I'm not wearing jeans. That's for another day. And she said, you always dress so nice. You look like a model. You should model. And I told my mom this, and that's when my mom told me about the commercial. And then I said, well, can I go modeling? And my mom made so many sacrifices for me. I have to say, I need to shout her out right now. Rachel Scott Sweat, I love you. I love you dearly. If not for you, none of this would exist. So I love you, Ma. And she made so many sacrifices to make things happen for me, man. When I moved out to Arizona to go to Arizona State and live with my dad, and also so I could be close to California, because this is something that I've always wanted to pursue. And thank God he's starting to smile on me a little bit. So I just want to take it as far as I can, influence as much as I can. And that's not to say that I'm a saint by any means, but what it does mean is that I'm forgiven, and I walk the best that I can to be as a positive and influential, in a positive and optimistic way that I can to other people.
Well, you know what, you're doing more than just living positive and doing a good job. One of your quotes that I really like is, "Failure is fine as long as failure isn't final."
I got that from. I took the quote and made it my own, but I got that. At least I paraphrased it from my pastor out in Arizona, and he would always talk about faith. And people are always, and people when they pray, and they're praying for something and then just looking off into the future. But he said, faith is now. He said, when can you have faith? You can only have faith in the now, because the present is all you have. The past is already gone. I just said a statement. That statement is now in the past. We haven't lived the future yet. All you have is this moment. Your life can change and can only change in this moment, in this now. So that's why I have that as part of my quote, and is to remind myself, you got right now. What are you going to do right now? So,
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Someday will never come. Today is someday. Today is now. And, I see from your website, tankjones.com, that you have so many things going on, especially with kids and people. And, oh, man, I encourage every Up Radio listener right now to go to tankjones.com and check out what this man's doing. And I love what I'm seeing, man. The Choices Empowerment, the Latin Comedy Jam, and then more. It's just, I'm very, very impressed, man. I'm very, very impressed. So I tell you what, obviously we want to see you in Union Bound this Friday. And obviously I want people to go to tankjones.com. What are some ways that the listeners can get behind what you're doing, man?
Well, I'm on all, like you said, that is my website, tankjones.com. come out, they said, and support the film on Friday, April 22nd. Go to unionboundthemovie.com to find out where it's playing near you. I'm on all social media, Twitter, Facebook. You can find me under Larry Tank Jones. And if you friend request me, follow me, what have you, and you reach out, I reach out to everybody that I try to contact everybody that contacts me. Now, bear in mind, sometimes it might take me a little bit because I do get busy, but I don't have a handler. I don't have anybody that handles that for me. It's me. So, and I have placed like I said, my organization Choices. I do have a nonprofit. We go to elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, churches, and even businesses. And we speak to them about creative ways to deal with life issues, whether those life issues are you in school, dealing with peer pressure, bullying, why it's important to have a strong work ethic, or how to apply the proper problem-solving and critical thinking skills to a business problem and you need a solution. Those are some of the things that I give speeches on, and it does my heart good, and I hope that the information that I share helps someone. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, you're living a life of contribution. You're a success story, and you're not defined by what you're against. You're defined by what you're for. And that's what we need. We need role models, man. And these beautiful kids, that we get to work with. The whole reason that I'm doing this radio show with Greg Griffin, who is the sponsor, GTG Automation, Plumbing, Electrical, Heating and Air. He also is the one who has brought the biggest names in the Christian music industry to West Texas, making history in the Permian Basin. Is for the at-risk kids, the listeners that are hearing you right now, Tank, are among the children, at least, are among the top 10 of teen suicide, teen drug addiction, and teen pregnancy. And so I want them to go to tankjones.com and to be motivated too. I also would like for people to follow you on Twitter and Facebook and get behind any movie that you're doing, any project that you're doing, and maybe it would be wonderful, maybe even to bring you out to West Texas and have you speak to some kids there too.
I love that, man. I've been out. I was actually just in El Paso, Texas. I'm in Texas a lot. I just left El Paso a couple of days ago, but I would love that. My program actually started in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is 50 miles south of El Paso. And I've been all over. I'll be in Hidalgo and Lubbock later on this year too. I've been Corpus Christi already this year. We do a lot of shows there, so I would love that. I really would.
Tank, it would be wonderful to have you in West Texas, to have you in this area. And again, everyone, go to tankjones.com. Check him out on Facebook and Twitter. Connect that way. Go to Union Bound, find a theater, Google Union Bound for a theater near you, and go see this movie. Get behind this movie, and get behind actors like Tank that are making a difference, not only in Hollywood, but they're making a difference in the lives of countless people, because that's really what it's all about. And like you say, Tank, now that's all you've got. So I appreciate you, and we celebrate you, man. And we can't wait to hear more from Tank Jones. Tank, thank you for being on the show.
It was a privilege, man. Thank you for having me, and to your listeners as well. God bless and Godspeed.
God bless you. And there you have it, folks. A fantastic man and actor and entrepreneur. A man making a great difference in the lives of thousands of people, especially kids. That's Tank Jones with his movie, Union Bound, in theaters everywhere this coming Friday. It's been a great show. Another great Up Radio segment brought to you by none other than Greg Griffin of What Yeshua Can Do Concert and Camp Ministry and GTG Automation, Plumbing, Electrical, Heating, and Air. Go to gtgautomation.com and see what they can do for you. I think everyone ought to do business with that guy, Greg Griffin. He's blessing a region, and over the internet, he's touching the world. It's been a great show with Up Radio. And until next time, this is Brant encouraging you to look up, stand up, rise up, live up, shine like the stars in heaven. And we'll talk to you next time on Up Radio.